In 1979, a 28-year-old man stands stranded in a Puerto Rico airport, his flight suddenly canceled. Other passengers groan and give up, but not him. He grabs a blackboard, writes a cheeky sign, Virgin Airways, $39 to the Virgin Islands, and within minutes, he's filled a small charter plane with paying strangers. That man was Richard Branson, and that impromptu, wildly decisive move was the birth of Virgin Atlantic Airlines. Why did Branson act so boldly, so quickly, when most of us would still be fretting at the ticket counter? What did he know that others didn't? Welcome to Why Rich People Don't Overthink. Psychology explained. Overthinking. It's the silent dream killer. Think about it. How many opportunities have you personally missed because you hesitated or analyzed it to death? We've all been there. Maybe you've saved up some money and want to invest, but you read every article, consider every scenario, and by the time you're ready, the opportunity is gone. Meanwhile, someone else, perhaps with far less information, has already dived in and made a profit. It feels unfair, almost irrational. Shouldn't more thinking lead to better outcomes? Paradoxically, when we look at many self-made millionaires and billionaires, they often exhibit a kind of action-first mindset. They aren't crippled by the what-ifs. In fact, many ultra-wealthy individuals say one of their biggest advantages was learning to decide quickly when it matters. It's a puzzle. With so much on the line, you'd expect the rich to second-guess every move, but they often don't. To understand why, we need to explore the psychology of decision-making, from ancient philosophy to cutting-edge neuroscience. Research shows the average person makes around 70 decisions a day, from trivial choices like what to wear to life-altering ones like accepting a job offer. It's no wonder our mental energy gets drained. Decision fatigue is real. As the day wears on, our brain, like a muscle, tires out. Here's where many successful people have a secret weapon. They don't waste that mental energy on small stuff. You've probably heard how Steve Jobs wore the same black turtleneck daily, or Mark Zuckerberg with his gray t-shirts. They did this on purpose, to eliminate small decisions and conserve willpower. Former President Barack Obama even said, "I wear only gray or blue suits. I don't want to make decisions about what I'm eating or wearing because I have too many other decisions to make." By turning minor choices into routines, high achievers keep their decision muscle fresh for the big calls. They've quietly solved a problem most people don't even realize they have. So what happens when a big decision comes along, something with millions of dollars, or a company's future at stake? This is where average people and the ultra-successful really diverge. Imagine two entrepreneurs eyeing the same opportunity. The first one, call her Alice, spends weeks compiling data, running scenarios, trying to predict every possible outcome. It's exhaustive, and honestly, exhausting. The second, call him Bob, gathers a few key facts and makes the call in a day. Maybe he doesn't know everything, but he knows enough. Because in fast-moving arenas, decisiveness isn't just helpful, it's a competitive edge. In fact, a McKinsey study found that top-performing executives make decisions 65% faster than their peers. They're not rushing blindly, not at all. They're simply avoiding the drag of over-analysis. As former U.S. Army General Colin Powell once put it, never wait until you have 100% of the information, because by the time you do, the world has moved on. Powell's rule was to act when he had roughly 40 to 70% confidence in the intel. Less than that is too little, but more than that is usually impossible or too late. And Jeff Bezos says almost the same thing. Most decisions should probably be made with around 70% of the information you wish you had. If you wait for 90%, you're probably being slow. Think about that for a second. One of the richest men on the planet is literally warning you that too much information can hurt you. The message is clear. At a certain point, more analysis stops helping and starts hurting. Overthinking often isn't about information at all. It's about fear. Fear of failure, fear of loss, fear of regret. And fear is sneaky. It dresses itself up as diligence and caution. But the ultra-wealthy flip the script on fear. They fear missing an opportunity more than they fear making a mistake. Psychologists have a term for this: analysis paralysis, when the fear of a wrong choice leads to no choice at all. And the wealthy know something most people don't. No choice is sometimes the worst choice. Sure, they might make a wrong call here or there, but they trust they can recover and adapt. Because here's the part most people miss. You can recover money, you can recover reputation, but you can't recover time wasted in indecision. This is the pivotal mindset shift. Mistakes are seen as learning, even necessary, not as the end of the world. In Silicon Valley, they like to say, fail fast, learn faster. That attitude explains why decisiveness beats over cautiousness in the long run. Now, this isn't to say rich people are reckless. Far from it. They often do more prep work than the average person. They just execute fast once prep is done. They set self-imposed deadlines. They say, all right, by the end of this week, I choose A or B, and they stick to it. How many of us let big decisions drag on and on, waiting for a sign from the universe? High performers don't do that. They make the call. By the time someone indecisive has spent an hour deciding which email to end, fighter pilots using OODA don't get the luxury of over-analysis. If they hesitate, they're outmaneuvered. So they decide, they act, they observe the new reality, and they loop again. Fast, decisive, agile. Sound familiar? Many top business leaders use this exact logic. Even if they don't call it OODA, they decide, fast, act, then adjust course as new information comes in. Think of it like driving a race car. You don't sit there mapping the entire track before you move. That's impossible. You make split-second moves as the course unfolds. This is how the rich inoculate themselves against analysis paralysis. They don't wait for certainty. They default to action. And here's the part that makes this work, the safety net. They get extremely good at course correction. Back to Bezos for a moment. If you can fix mistakes quickly, being wrong isn't that bad, but being slow always is. That's the mantra. Speed matters. Flexibility matters. Perfection, not so much. And once you really understand that, overthinking loses its grip. 2,000 years ago, yes, 2,000 years ago, Stoic philosophers in ancient Rome were already dealing with anxiety and overthinking, just like we are today. Nothing new under the sun, right? One of them, Seneca, wrote something incredibly sharp. We suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Read that again, because that sentence alone explains most overthinking. Our minds don't torture us with what actually happens. They torture us with what might happen, with scenarios that are often worse than real life ever is. Here's the interesting part. The ultra-successful seem to understand this instinctively. Instead of obsessing over every possible downside, they ask a very grounded question. What's the worst realistic outcome, and can I handle it? And most of the time, the honest answer is yes, or at least it's manageable. So they move forward. The Stoics had a simple rule for this: the dichotomy of control. Focus on what you can control, your decisions, your effort, your preparation. Accept what you can't control: outcomes, luck, other people, external chaos. Modern high performers, CEOs, founders, elite athletes live by this, even if they don't call it stoicism. They don't burn energy over outcomes they can't control. They pour it into actions they can take. That's why they stay calm under pressure. Think about a surgeon in an emergency. She's not panicking, thinking, what if the patient doesn't make it? In that moment, she's focused on the next step, then the next, then the next. Control the action. Let the outcome unfold. This is exactly how the wealthy avoid mental spirals. By not overthinking the uncontrollables, they stay cool, clear, and effective. They also use something very Stoic: visualization, but not the fluffy kind. Not worrying, preparing. Seneca advised practicing in your mind what might go wrong, but not to live in fear, just to be ready. So a billionaire might think, if this venture fails, here's plan B. And once that plan exists, the worry stops. They've turned fear into strategy, anxiety into readiness. And that right there is a huge psychological advantage. Ever hear an athlete say they play their best when they just react and don't overthink on the field? There's science behind that. When you overthink a physical skill, you interfere with muscle memory and performance collapses. Psychology calls this choking. Too much conscious thought overriding years of training. The same principle applies to leadership, to business, to power. Elite performers drill fundamentals relentlessly. They study, they observe, they accumulate experience. So when the moment arrives, they don't analyze, they trust. What we call intuition is really implicit memory, experience compressed into instinct. A CEO negotiating a deal isn't calculating every outcome in real time. Their decision comes faster than logic, because it's pattern recognition. Subconscious, efficient, trained. This is why the wealthy often say, I listen to my gut. Not because it's mystical, but because it's informed. It's the same reason a chess grandmaster knows the right move in 10 seconds. They've seen thousands of patterns before. Speed is not recklessness. It's familiarity. And notice something else. When elite thinkers feel uncertain, they don't sit and overthink. They act. A small experiment, a quick phone call, a pilot move. Action to gain clarity. Clarity to take action. This is how momentum is built. Not in the mind, but in motion. The difference between the average and the exceptional isn't intelligence. It's the ability to decide without hesitation and move forward, while others remain trapped in thought. Let's address the emotional elephant in the room: anxiety. Overthinking is often an anxiety coping mechanism. If I just think harder and longer, I can control the outcome, right? But high achievers understand something crucial. Anxiety can't be beaten by rumination. In fact, it feeds on it. Overthinkers don't realize this, but they often work themselves into a cortisol frenzy. They don't panic first. They think themselves into panic. Successful people break that circuit. Some use physical hacks. They'll go for a run, hit the gym, move their body, anything to burn off cortisol and clear the mind. It's incredible, really. Just 30 minutes of exercise can restore mental clarity by metabolizing stress hormones. He softens his voice. Others use mindfulness or something simpler, a shift in perspective. They remind themselves of past decisions that worked out. They remember, I've handled hard things before. They also avoid making big decisions in a bad mental state. Psychology is clear on this. this. Decisions made under temporary emotion tend to be poor decisions. There's an old saying for a reason. Don't make permanent decisions based on temporary emotions. The wealthy take that seriously. If they're furious or fearful, they'll sleep on it, but not forever. By morning, the emotion often fades, and then they decide rationally. Compare that to someone who lies awake all night, overthinking. By morning, they're exhausted and still stuck. The wealthy person rested and then made the call. Emotional mastery isn't about being cold or unfeeling. It's about not letting emotions run the show. They acknowledge the feeling, I'm nervous about this investment, but they don't stop there. They shift to facts, principles, systems. In short, they use emotion as a signal, not as a steering wheel.